Welcome to the Real Estate Syndication Show. Whether you are a seasoned investor or building a new real estate business, this is the show for you. Whitney Sewell talks to top experts in the business. Our goal is to help you master real estate syndication. And now your host, Whitney Sewell.
Bedford's Cost Segregation specializes in generating significant tax savings via their engineering-based studies for commercial real estate clients nationwide. Founded in 2002, Bedford is one of the largest independently owned cost segregation providers in the country, with over 14,000 studies completed to date in multiple offices throughout. The most important decision ownership can make when incorporating cost segregation within their real estate portfolio is selecting the right provider. With only 43 certified cost segregation professionals nationwide, Bedford is proud to employ 8 of them and takes the quality of their people as seriously as their studies. Every certified cost segregation professional has passed a rigorous test combining knowledge of technical engineering issues, legal tax issues, ethics standards, and requires a strict level of prior work experience to be eligible. Bottom line, not all cost segregation providers are created equal. So be sure to take the decision seriously from the beginning to protect yourself for years to come. Please contact Bedford's Business Development Director, Frank Judici, to learn more. This is your daily real estate syndication show. I'm your host, Whitney Sewell. Today our guest is Max Keller. Thanks for being on the show, Max.
Glad to be here.
Max is a real estate investor, best-selling author, and highly sought-after consultant, speaker, and expert panelist on the topic of lead generation and marketing for real estate investors. In just a few short years, Max went from being a full-time high school math teacher to flipping over 100 houses. Max's unique marketing approach landed him on stage with Robert Kiyosaki, being presented with the 2019 Industry Innovator of the Year Award. Max, welcome to the show. Grateful for your time and to meet you personally. I know you just your story and your just unique way that you got there, I think is going to bring a ton of value to the listeners. And so I'm interested personally in hearing more about it. But get us started. And who is Max? And let's dive into this how you did this. There's so many of the listeners are trying to do the same thing, right? And wondering, how did Max do this? How did you do 100 deals that quick? And how did you just make this life transformation, right? From a math teacher. Maybe it was because you knew the numbers so well. I don't know. But we'll get into that and tell us, get us started with your story.
Yeah, great. Well, great to be on. For me, I was teaching math at an inner city school in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. I love my job. I never complained about the pay. I just wanted more out of life. And so I was searching for some ways to do that, ways to increase my active income. I wanted to do something during the summer, so I started looking for, summer opportunities. And my family and I saved up for a vacation with another family that we know real well. And when it was on that vacation, July 2015, that my friend said that he had bought a rent house. And I really, I had thought about doing real estate in the past, but if any of my friends started a real estate business, I wouldn't have picked him. He's very risk adverse. And he said, my pay is locked in. I've got to do something. My kids are getting older. And so I bought a rent house. He kind of explained how it went. And I got interested in it. I went to, on the way back from the vacation, we stayed with some family members who are in the Coast Guard. And I said, hey, it's a great house that you have here down in Louisiana. Are you buying it? Are you renting it? And my cousin was like, no, we're renting it. And it's awesome. We have this landlord that's like our age. We're in our mid-30s at the time. And he just has like 8 houses paid off, and he just makes sure that we're happy, and he just kind of drives around all day. And I was like, wow, that sounds really good. So I just started learning about it, got a mentor locally, did my first deal, wholesaled it for $16,000, which, was, a lot of money, nearly a third of a year's pay in one deal. And so I just, I went to deal number 2. Never intended to quit my job. I was just going to get a couple of rentals, start to diversify, build some net worth. But I felt like it was a good opportunity, and I enjoyed it. And my teaching was kind of getting in the way of the real estate career. So I just, just went full force, quit my job, started flipping houses. I knew it was right the first month that I didn't get my teacher check. So I was coaching football, basketball, and track. teaching high school math. And I'd been getting a check every month on the 20th of the month for 7 years. But, I had an entrepreneurial spirit. So, I felt like maybe I had missed my window of opportunity to start a business, but that was definitely, not true. That was a self-limiting
Just
belief.
because of your age or the career that you had?
Yeah. And, I think it's harder. In some ways, people have told me it's harder to leave your job when you're older and you have, kids and, more routines. But for me, I found it to be a lot easier because I was smarter. When I tried to start my own businesses in my 20s and I wasn't reading a lot and I didn't have good mentors. I mean, I didn't know what I was doing. I started my own business when I was 28 and I didn't understand how lead generation works. I didn't understand how to stand out in my marketplace. And, there were some, economic factors that made it harder, but I could have been successful if I had the right mindset. So I actually found it easier when I was older and I went full force. The first month that I didn't get a teacher check, which was around $3,200, $3,400 after health insurance and everything is taken out. I got my check for the third house that I flipped and it was, 10 times that amount. So I knew I made the right decision, but, the way the real estate investing works is, you're only as good as your last deal and it can kind of turn into a hamster wheel. And that's sort of what happened, with me. If we fast forward 2 years later, things are going well. I'm flipping a lot of houses. I'm doing, 8 projects at a time. I have a crew. I have an office. I've gotten with some really smart people who have helped me and we've scaled up. The downside is that the market forces, in DFW were, going in the opposite direction. The margins were getting skinnier. The contractor, pay and the materials were getting more expensive. And my return on marketing investment was just getting lower. I was going from a 10x return on my marketing to an 8 to a 5. And I'm starting to think, okay, I left teaching because it was a grind and there really wasn't a lot of opportunity. And I'm starting to feel like I'm in a grind right now. I was making good money as a real estate investor, but I didn't really have the freedom that I wanted. I wasn't spending a lot of time with my family. And a lot of times I really wasn't enjoying the deals. I was actually getting burnt out kind of quick. So what I did, and maybe this is something that, help the people who are listening, is that if you feel like, you're just not making any headway and things are going in the wrong direction, instead of getting down, on yourself and just making it worse, I just did a deep dive of the deals that I had already done. And I went through the deals that I already done. And for me, I'm just speaking today from my personal experience, what you want might be different. But what I wanted was I wanted to make a good profit on my deals. I go to work to get paid. So I want to make good profit on my deals. A very profitable deal sometimes takes about the same amount of time as a slim deal. So it's like, why don't I do the very profitable? So I wanted very profitable deals. I wanted deals where when I'm working with the seller, there was minimal resistance to my offer, my advice. It was seen more consultatively than adversarial. And then, lastly, I wanted to have fun. I had a lot of fun as a math teacher. I had a lot of fun as a coach. I wasn't having any fun in real estate. It was a total grind. I was miserable. I was actually thinking about throwing in the towel. Fortunately, I made 2 big discoveries. Whether you're in residential real estate investing or others, my goal is for y'all to take maybe some of what happened to me and run with it in your own example. So is it okay with you if I jump into the first discovery, Whitney?
Yeah, let's do it. I think it's awesome that you had achieved what some people would said, well, success in real estate, right? You got these systems going, you're doing 8 properties at a time. And, it's like, wow, look what Max has accomplished here. But now all of a sudden you're realizing that you're not having fun doing it and maybe you should quit. But what are these 2 realizations that you had?
Yeah, so the first one is that I really need to dial in on who I was targeting. I was trying to be all things to all people. I was working every list. I had multiple websites. I was working, I had yellow letters, cold calling, texting was about to get started. Every list that I could find, pre-foreclosures, vacant homes, tired landlords. And although those things were working, they were unpredictable. So when I went through my list and I'm looking for these 3 criteria: profit, minimal resistance working with the seller, and I'm looking to have fun. And so there was good news and bad news in the first part of my journey. The good news was, the bad news, Warren Buffett says, bad news first, good news can wait, right? So the bad news was most of my deals that I had done up to that point did not meet all 3. And so I was a little bummed, but not really surprised because of the way I felt. The good news is that for the few deals that did meet all three of the criteria, you don't have to be a math teacher to figure out what the pattern was. And for me, they weren't just regular motivated sellers, they were senior homeowners, okay? And so I had found a niche that was very different. And normally when I'm rehabbing a house, I'm peeling back the onion, I'm peeling back the walls, and the story just keeps getting worse, right? I'm finding more problems with the structure. With this journey, it's actually getting better because I'm finding these little discoveries and I'm like, oh, I didn't know that. This is great. So I noticed that, the senior homeowners, I'm like, okay, this is a good niche. It meets all the criterias. Why have I not been focusing on this before? How did I get these, ideal clients? And your niche doesn't have to be senior homeowners. That's what it is for me. But whatever it is, find that niche, because when you do, it's ultimate freedom. Because it became so much easier to market to them, to tailor the messaging. And it felt honestly like a winner take all. Before I felt like I was a dime a dozen. I'm here, there's wholesalers, there's flippers, there's agents, there's hedge funds, there's iBuyers, and I was just the same as everybody else. Now,
like your blue ocean.
Yes, it really felt that way. It felt like I love that book, Blue Ocean Strategy, and it did. It felt like a blue ocean, but I was like, okay, this is the blue ocean, but how do I position myself in the blue ocean? Because I'm not there yet. I'm still working with all different kinds of sellers. So I did a little fact finding. I noticed that I did some research. I noticed that the leads that I was getting from my blue ocean were converting at a lot higher rate. They were just higher quality leads. Another thing I noticed was that they needed a lot more help. I was in these senior homeowners' homes for 3 to 4 hours in their living rooms. They're trying to figure out if they should stay in their house, if they should, sell it. If they sell it, which option is the person sitting in, that they're calling, really trying to help them? Like, who's looking out for you? Or are they just a salesperson trying to talk them into their option? And then once they sell their home, where are they going to live? Are they going to move in with family? If they have mobility issues, there's 400 different kinds of senior housing that's out there. Which one do they pick? How do they know? How do they pay for it? So what I did as a teacher and as an educator is I was like, okay, I love these people. Like my grandma helped take care of me and I took care of her. So I saw my grandma when I was working with these folks and my grandpa. So I was like, okay, what can I do to help these folks? Because that's how I want to help them. I figure if I help them, you help enough people get what they want, you'll get what you want. And it's fun. So I'm learning about the different senior housing facilities in my area. I'm learning about what's important to my niche. And I'm gaining some expertise. And so I know this is the niche I want to be in. I was actually buying some houses that, the seller had offers 5-10 grand more than my offer. And they were still going with me. And I didn't know why. So I actually kind of did a little bit of a shot in the dark. I went back and called one of my sellers. It wasn't the adult, the mom, because she's in an assisted living facility. I called the adult son who's like in his 50s. I said, hey, do you remember me, Max, Save Your Home Buyers? He's like, oh yeah, I remember you. It's been about 6 months. I said, hey, I remember at the time when I was working with you, you had said that you had gotten some offers from other people, and that some of them were actually higher than my offer. Just curious, like, why did you go with me? Like, I'm glad you did, but why? And it's always helps when the discovery comes from your ideal prospect's mouth, not from what we think. And I was just getting this information. It was just like gold. And he's like, we trusted you. We could tell that you genuinely cared. You weren't just there to do a deal. And, that trust meant a lot to us. And it meant more than 10 grand. And I was like, okay, this is a big eye-opening moment. And so I knew this is where I wanted to be. I knew that I could pull different lists. I knew that I could develop more expertise. I knew that my messaging could change. And so that was like part one, is finding the motivated, the true ideal person. I can't take down every deal in Dallas-Fort Worth. I started flipping homes in Oklahoma. I was all about scaling and growing. And I think that's great. But just for me, there were so many leads I was passing up on that I don't have to take down the whole city or the whole state or the whole US to hit my deal flow goals. So once I got niche, that now all of a sudden my marketing started getting a lot more effective. And I started seeing the increases going back to what they were. What happened after that, the second piece, was what really blew the cover off. It was something that I can't even tell you how unexpected this would be, but it changed my business forever. So if we have time, I'll share with you, your audience, what happened with that.
Yeah, would love for you to. And I was just thinking about, I mean, this could apply to any business ultimately. And I hear it so often, even from starting a podcast to having a business and who your clients are, like who are you speaking to, understand, really niching down and just the value of that. And it sounds like, I mean, you've experienced that and just a great testimony to that alone. I hear all the time, well, Whitney, if I niche down too much, I'm not going to have enough clients or I'm not going to have enough investors or, that worry, but it's not the case at all. And you're proving that. So go ahead.
I was so nervous about that. So nervous. That's why I didn't do it sooner. And because I thought that if I niched that I would pass up all these other deals. And if I'm just barely hitting my income, my lifestyle goals for where I'm at now, how am I going to increase it if I'm passing up deals? And it was actually the total opposite. I'm a friend of mine who does some sales training in the real estate investment space, John Martinez. I was at his house last week. He's a friend of mine. And we were talking about niches, and he goes, go like so niche until you think there's like not even an audience for that. And that's how you'll know where you really need to be. And that was my experience. And so I'm going niche and I'm focusing on it and it's working. And then what happened next was totally unexpected. I was at a motivated seller's house. It was in the evening and we're doing the agreement. I'm going to buy their home and then I actually help them find another place to live. I had some good contacts and I was helping people find, different kinds of senior housing, facilities. And so the seller's adult, I think it was his daughter was there, or her daughter was there. And she said, you've helped, she's about 50, 60 years old. And she said, you've helped our family out a ton. I really appreciate you. You know so much. I really went above and beyond. She said, have you ever thought about writing a book about all of this that you know? And I was like, no, like I'm Max, the house flipper. I'm actually dyslexic. I was the dyslexia that was good at math. My daughter's the one that, is a little bit more challenging. But no, like writing has so never been in my wheelhouse. Like you can't believe it. And I thought that really writing also was really, really difficult. And so I really didn't even actually I didn't find out I was dyslexic until I was an adult. And I didn't start reading a lot until I got into real estate. I noticed that a lot of people in real estate were reading a lot of books. That's how I found out I was dyslexic. I got with a coach. I learned how to read a lot better and started doing audiobooks and, basically all the things. I remember when my students would go to the content mastery lab and they would get with the dyslexia, they didn't call them coach, but they had a name for it. And they were getting their help. And so now I'm in that boat, but I'm learning, I'm reading better. But still the thought, reading a book a week, which is about what I was up to at this point, and writing a book, like those are totally different things. So I was like, thank you. I really appreciate the compliment. It's very nice of you to say. I think I'm just going to just stay where I'm at. And then I thought about it a little bit and I was like, it's just another leap of faith. Our instincts are very powerful. I feel like you can meet somebody and tell if they're genuine and if it's somebody you really want to work with. And the same thing with our ideas. Don't ever take your ideas and just like crush them, because when you have a feeling, go with it. That's been good advice for me. And so I just said, that's actually not a bad idea. I have no idea how to do this, but if I went from the person who knows a lot about senior housing, which is what I had done in that year period, and really separated myself from 95% of my market, I felt like this would be the extra 5%. And I would go from the person who's the expert in this niche to the person who wrote the book on this niche. And so what I did was I just made a list of I made a how-to book. There's two kinds of books. And now we have a publishing company. I never would have expected any of this in my wildest dreams. And I hang out with, publishers, and it's really weird. I like it. Never would have imagined in a million years. It's very accessible.
It's so interesting because I think myself also, and many of the listeners could relate to that feeling of, wait a minute, I'm no author, I'm no writer. I didn't like to read for many years. I love reading now, and I'm on that same track, reading as much as possible, all the time. And I contribute a lot of success to that, in that steady habit, but writing a book. Yeah. I mean, I would be right there too. It's like, oh, wait a minute, I'm no writer.
Right.
So it's interesting, how did you, how did that progress? You did write a book and why?
Yeah, so I wanted to write the book to really position myself differently. Another thing is, I like to tell the good, bad, and the ugly. So the good was I was helping people in my niche at a whole nother level. The bad was I was in these living rooms for 3 to 4 hours at a time explaining all of this information that I had learned, and it just wasn't scalable. And then the adult child would get into the conversation of my niche, and I would have to re-explain it. And so it took so much time. I felt like the book, because I was a teacher, you have the book. It's like, I was thinking more of a book as not like telling my life story, because I felt like, not to be rude, but like, a motivated seller, they care about me. Your sellers care about you, but they care about solving their problems. And so I just wanted to write a book that answered all of their questions. And so I just sat down. My process was real simple. It took a long time. I had a lot of bumps and bruises. Now we've created a tool that I'm going to share with your audience at the end. So if they're thinking about going down this journey, we actually wrote a book for real estate investors that makes the process so much simpler. I wish I had it. But at the time, I just made a list of all the questions that I had been asked from being in hundreds of people's living rooms. And then I put what the answers were. I put the pros and cons. I thought about how somebody gave me the term foundational source. And I said, I want to create a book to where there's 40 different options in it. Not all of them point to me. Every chapter, I'm real specific on telling people what I do and don't do, just as important. And I really want to create that foundational resource so folks can read it. They don't have to go to 1,500 websites and try to figure out who's telling the truth and which one is just a long form, sales letter. And so that's what I did. I mapped it all out. I wrote it. Took about 200-300 hours to write the first one. I had to shut down parts of my business to get it done. Because I was going solo. And then I printed out 100 copies of the book and I started passing it out. And what I found was benefits I would have never imagined in a million years. Do we have time? I can maybe just share one or two.
Yeah, please do share one or two. And unfortunately, we're running low on time. We'll have to move to some final questions pretty soon,
Yes,
but
of course.
please.
Understandable. Yeah, one of the things that I found is that I would give the book out and people wouldn't throw it away. Whereas when I'm sending, thousands and tens of thousands of dollars of direct messaging, if I'm not hitting these folks at the exact right timing bubble, they're throwing my stuff in the trash. But when I'm giving people autographed copies of my book, not only are they not throwing it away, they're passing it around to their friends. So it became an ultimate referral tool, an ultimate business card. Another thing that we're doing that has great success is before we go over to somebody's house to look at it, we send them an autographed copy of the book. We tell them to read chapter 3 before we come over. And it sort of switches the whole paradigm from them thinking, oh, I've got the cheese, I've got what you want, this is a seller's market, you're going to follow my process. And really, it gets them following our process. And we're the real estate professionals, so it's actually benefits everybody. And when we go over to the home, what we're finding is that we're getting a lot more exclusive deals, because why would they work with anybody else when they already have the person who wrote the book on the subject? And they've already read 3 or 4 hours about us, they're pre-sold on us. So then we could just really come in as the consultant and we can do the 3 things that we talked about. Exclusive deals lead to more profit. There's minimal resistance because I'm the position myself with the book as the expert and the authority and the credible person. And I'm having fun helping these people. And so this book that we created, I want to share it with your audience. And it's called the Real Estate Investor Book Writing Checklist. We've never seen one like this. It's the book I wanted when I first wrote my book. And it maps out how to target the niche in whatever part of real estate that you're in, how to speak to them directly, how to overcome writer's block, how to outline a book, an ebook, or just update your marketing message. So at the end, I'll share the link for folks to get that. And then there's some links where they can learn more about what we do as a business.
Yeah, that's awesome. And looking forward to that. And I know, the neat thing about your book, though, it's very niche focused as well. It's not like you wrote this massive book just on real estate, the book on real estate investing, right? I mean, it's very niche for your client. And I'm sure that contributed to the success and growth that you're experiencing now. Well, Max, we'll pivot just a little bit and just ask you a few final questions. In the real estate business right now, I mean, how are you preparing for a potential downturn?
Yeah, so number one is cash and access to cash. That's number one. I learned that from my friends in my mastermind who went through the downturn. there's a lot of opportunity on the way up, and there's different strategies work for different parts of the real estate cycle. So if we're kind of flat with the prices, maybe, in the future could be heading down, different strategies. So I've already mapped out what those strategies are. I've been saving, I've got the dry powder for myself from my cash that I've stored. And then I also have access to cash. So on the next up cycle, I can do very well and make some people incredibly wealthy. And then, I'm 39, so I hit another cycle at least in my lifetime. The more of our own cash that we can utilize, the more access you have, the better you can do. So that's what I've been focusing on. I've been on just kind of a cross-country circuit the last 3-4 years to, build those relationships. They take time, because when there's really good deals out there, the folks who have cash or access to cash can control the deal. And then, my goal is just to get them to cash flow. The cash flow is really the glue that just keeps the deal together long enough for the real mover to take over, which is appreciation, statistically. And then I do some lending, and I leverage into some of my students have deals. I get to meet them and get to know them well and invest in their deals. But lending is a beautiful space, and having that access is huge during a downturn. So that's what I'm doing.
Nice. So what do you predict is going to happen over the next 6 to 12 months?
Yeah, every prediction is wrong. It's just by how much and in what direction. So I really don't know.
That's a good answer.
For me, I'm not sure. And it kind of doesn't matter, because if things are solid, we'll just continue to tap into the retail market and access those strategies. If the market's flat, then, we'll just do the same thing, but with more creative finance stuff, and just sort of wait a little bit. And then when the market, goes down a little bit, we know what those strategies are, but I don't really pay attention to that too much, because I don't know. It's very hard to predict the future. What I focus on is predicting what's going to change is very difficult. What's actually way easier, so here's a shortcut for your listeners, is get into the business of predicting what's not going to change. And what's not going to change is that when you identify yourself to prospects as the trusted expert, you're going to be able to capture more leads, higher quality leads, and increase your conversion rate. Books and leveraging authorship is not going to change. Having access to cash as a benefit to it being an investor is not going to change. So I focus more on that. I'm sorry I don't have a good answer for the other stuff.
No, I thought that was a really good answer. I thought it was a great answer. So, Max, I feel like people that are in business, and especially real estate, to be successful, you have a high level of self-discipline. And how did you gain such a high level of self-discipline? Teaching
was like being in the military. I have ADHD. I didn't actually know that was real. I feel bad for my students because I thought they were making it up, but it is actually real. I definitely have that. So being a teacher was a great opportunity, because there were 14 bells every day that told me exactly what to do. So I noticed that when I would do little things over a long period of time, it's sort of like ABs. I had 6 AB split testing, and so I noticed that when I was disciplined and I followed the routine and I improved the routine a little bit, I improved 1% every day, I would make these huge gains in the classroom. And so when I came over to real estate and I was solopreneur, and then I built out my office, I was like, okay, well, what made me successful as a teacher? A timer. So here, I'll show you right here. Boom. Well, I can't move my camera. It's like locked in. But I got a little clock over here. So I have a schedule, so I think having the discipline, the schedule, I map out income producing activities and focus on those before I start the day. Maybe on a future show, if we get an opportunity, we'll talk about it. But I have a very, very regimented schedule, which is the opposite of my natural personality. But I think it's crucial to business success, at least at the rate that I want to have business success.
Yeah, I would love to talk about that more in depth, no doubt. And I love that you said, mapping out income producing activities every day. Yeah, I would love to talk about that in more detail. And maybe you can give us a couple habits. I like to ask, what are a couple daily habits that you're disciplined about that have helped you achieve success?
Yeah. So, what I'm grateful for, what I'm proud of, what results I'm going to achieve for the day and have achieved. Those are things that I really stick to at the beginning and end of the day. As a business owner, sometimes, in isolation, I feel like in one day I haven't accomplished anything, but by writing it out, I've noticed that I've accomplished a lot. including getting to be with you and share with your audience. So it's been a huge blessing. Thanks for that opportunity. So that's a big one, pre-framing my calls. So when I talk to somebody, letting them know that how much time I have, because if you make incremental gains, 5-10 minutes here and there, that's huge. I take a 10-minute break every hour. I don't like taking breaks. I like to work for just like 4 hours straight. But that's been a huge game changer, doing income producing activities at the very beginning. And the last one is probably keep, change, delete. So at the end of every day, I write down what I want to keep that I did well, what are some things I want to change, then what are some things that I want to delete. So instead of course correcting on New Year's Day or once a quarter or once a month, or if you do full focus planner once a week, I'm course correcting every day and multiple times a day. And that's allowed me to not focus it's not 10,000 hours to get to total mastery. To me, it's 10,000 iterations. So as business owners, how can we fail fast? How can we fail, quickly and cheaply and get to 10,000 course corrections? I think that's the fastest way to ascend the pyramid. And that's what I'm on a mission to do.
Like that. And you mentioned the full focus planner.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that something you're diligent about using?
Yeah, I've been using it for like 3 years. I save all of them. It's like a huge stack. They come out every quarter. I don't have an affiliate code or anything. I'm just saying it's a tool that works for me. So this helped me stay really organized as a business owner. And they really focus on like weekly planning. And then once I started studying Ed Milet's stuff, and he talks about how to have, 21 days a week and how to break your day up into 3 individual days and just put more time pressure on yourself. That's allowed me to still be relaxed. I'm in a hurry. I have a lot of things to do, but I'm still enjoying my life. But it has allowed me to get a lot more productivity, because it's not how many hours we work, it's what we get done during the hours that we're working.
Yes, it's neat you brought that up. I noticed that video not too long ago of Ed Milet talking about that, and it's incredible just thought process just to think that way. But tell me a way, Max, that you've recently improved your business that we could apply to our business.
I think the biggest one is just being out there on social more. I don't like storytelling. So I've done a better job lately of telling the story of what we're doing in our home buyer business, what we're doing in our publishing business for real estate investors. And the feedback that I've gotten is that folks have really enjoyed consuming that video content. So coming up with a framework that really allows me to put my message out there and educate and teach my audience, not feeling like I'm trying to sell them anything. The feedback I've gotten is that they've watched the videos and they were very helpful in the motivated seller or the real estate investor deciding, what to do next in their business. So I've gotten a lot better at doing, I call it educational marketing, but it's making videos, getting them out in front of folks, and making it really about using stories, using case studies to teach something that's valuable, and then in return, get the engagement that way instead of just quotes or, distracting pictures. Everybody who's listening has some true value and has a story. Are you sharing it with people? Are you getting your message out and being, out there to, for people to find you? That's what I've gotten better at this year. And it's had a lot of rewards for my business and really a lot, for my soul, because it feels good to help a lot of people. And that's what we've been able to do this year.
Maybe we've talked about it and you can reiterate it again if so, but what's the number one thing that's contributed to your success?
I would say reading the book Deep Work, really concentrating. I lived 35 years of, no resources or tools and just kind of bouncing from one thing to the other and not understanding how to really focus. The people I've noticed who have had the most success that I look at, a lot of these people on Wall Street, I like people in the real estate investing space. I got to meet Robert Kiyosaki when I got an award last year for at an industry conference. People who have done big things, they can build a team, but they can concentrate. So I think concentrating on those income producing activities and not just getting all tied up in Facebook likes and email has really helped us get the message out and serve a lot of people and, grow our businesses. So concentration.
How do you like to give back?
Education, teaching, the way I told my wife I read the whole book. Don't tell her I haven't, but love languages, I don't know, guys, we don't like to talk about that kind of stuff, but the way that I show people that I care about them is if I try to find what they're struggling with and then, learn about it and teach them how to fix it, and be a problem solver. And so that's how I like to give back is just helping people. And I make myself accessible, even though I'm very into time management. I'm never too busy to talk to somebody and try to point them in the right direction. And I feel like a lot of people did that for me, and I'm going to keep doing that. And I actually enjoy just helping point somebody in the right direction. I mean, even more than closing a sale, but I enjoy that too.
Nice.
Yeah.
Max, I'm so grateful to have met you, and I'm grateful for your time on the show. Great show, by the way. Just everybody's wondering, or a lot of people, when they can leave that W-2 job. You love teaching, but you still did it. You got a mentor, and you were soon flipping, 8 houses at a time.
Yeah.
And that alone, it takes tons of dedication and processes and team, so, and then just laying out those 2 big realizations, and niching it down, and you just hammered that home. And I'm grateful for that, just how you niched down. And then that was your blue ocean, and just like no competition there. But then there's how writing the book also helped with that. So thank you again. Tell the listeners how they can get in touch with you and learn more about you.
Yeah. So they can go to dealschasingyou.com/Sewell, SEWELL. And you can download a free copy of our book for a limited time. And it's the Real Estate Investor Book Writing Checklist. And then if you have any questions, you can go to our Facebook page. You can go to our website. We have some educational videos, and you can see what we're doing, how we're standing out, how we're helping real estate investors stand out. And just check out some of our videos and, get some ideas so that you can do the same thing in your business.
Thank you for listening to the Real Estate Syndication Show, brought to you by LifeBridge Capital. LifeBridge Capital works with investors nationwide to invest in real estate, while also donating 50% of its profits to assist parents who are committing to adoption. LifeBridge Capital, making a difference, one investor and one child at a time. Connect online at www.lifebridgecapital.com for free material and videos to further your success.